Hi everyone, my name is Andy Marana and I'm a program manager with OHSU Visitors and Volunteers. Today I'm here to tell you about the OHSU Summer Program for 2026. This is a recorded presentation and we call it an information session. The goal is to give you information to help you decide if you think summer program is going to be right for you. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay. So, like I said, this is a summer program information session presented by me, Andy Marana. The agenda for this presentation. We are going to go over the information session goals and the expectations. Then I'm going to introduce you to the OHSU Visitors and Volunteers team. We're going to talk about the role of a volunteer at OHSU, the available volunteer positions for summer program 2026, the program requirements, the program expectations, and then what's going to happen after you watch this information session. So for the information session today, we have a few things going on. We have our goals. So the goals is for you to walk away after having watched this presentation, fully understanding the expectations and the requirements that OHSU has for you as a potential summer program volunteer. The information that we're giving you is to help you decide if you think summer program is going to be a good fit for you. And then for those who do think summer program is going to be a good fit for them, it's going to give you the information you need to be the best summer program volunteer that you can be. The expectations that we have for you is that you advocate for yourself. If you have questions, ask them. If you're not understanding something, ask for clarification. You can do that by reaching out to us at ovv@ohsu.edu. And after this presentation is through, please be prepared for a knowledge check. So this is the OVV team. We have 10 people on our team. They're all here to assist you. We have our director who runs everything, 3 program managers, Rob, Elizabeth, and myself. And then we have 6 coordinators that are here to help you with onboarding. You will also meet them on campus when you come to volunteer. So we have a really big team here. Everybody is really nice and knowledgeable. So be sure you use this as a resource when you need. Let's talk about why you want to volunteer. A lot of the times when I'm thinking or when I'm talking to summer program volunteers, there's really 2 main reasons that people want to volunteer with this program. The first and overwhelmingly, the majority of people are going to fall into this category. And that's the category of, I want a career in healthcare. That's a great reason to want to volunteer. Wanting to volunteer on a hospital is going to help you build the skills that you need in a potential healthcare career. It's going to help you learn about healthcare and how it works in the United States. And it's going to help you start to make the connections that you need as you think about your future and what your professional life is going to look like down the line. So what I like to say to the folks that are looking for a career in healthcare, I really want you to view volunteering as the start of your career. This is where you're going to start to learning skills that are going to serve you for the rest of your life. It's where you're going to have experiences that help form you and the type of healthcare provider or the type of healthcare worker that you are going to be in the future. So it is a really valuable experience volunteering in a hospital, both for you and for the assistance that you are going to provide to patients and family members. So if you're looking for a career in healthcare, welcome. You're definitely in the right place. And we're excited to be able to see you start the beginning of your professional journey. That is really exciting. And for some of the people in this category, what you'll find out is that you actually don't want to be in healthcare. And that is just as valuable. So just be aware that the time that you spend here and the experience that you get is going to be valuable either way. The second group of people that I usually meet when I ask this question are people who just want to give back to the community. It is very much like they just have extra time on their hands. They want to be able to meet new people, they want to engage with the community, and they really want to do something valuable with their time. And I want you to know that is you. You are absolutely welcome in this program. This program is not just for folks that want a career in healthcare. It is not just for students. It is not just for high school students. It is not just for college students. And it's for really anyone that wants to give back to the community and has sees a reason to do it in the truncated, limited scope of summer program. So if you're here for no other reason other than the goodness of your heart, welcome. Really happy that you're here. Really excited to see you and get to know you, and figure out where you're going to best fit within the hospital setting. So everybody comes to my office or comes to the interviews or this information session with different reasons that they want to volunteer. Even if you fit into those categories, there's a lot more intricate details about you that I couldn't possibly name one that would be true for everyone. Everyone has different reasons that they want to be volunteering, that they want to be in healthcare, that they want to be in a hospital setting. But one thing that we want to ask of you is we want to welcome you to our mission as an office. And our mission is to utilize volunteers to enhance the patient's experience. So we welcome you to join us in this mission and help use this as a framework for every decision that you make when it comes to summer program. The same way I do as somebody that works for this office. I'm constantly thinking about what's going to enhance the patient's experience when a volunteer asks me a question about scheduling or placement, when I'm thinking about which programs that are going to have summer program volunteers, when I'm thinking about what those volunteers are going to do. All of these things, it comes back to what's going to enhance the patient's experience. And I welcome you to join me in that mission. When you're thinking about where you want to volunteer, what days and times you want to do, how you're going to show up as a volunteer, let's be united in this mission, and we can really be a force if we do it together. The role of a volunteer at OHSU is also based on this idea of enhancing the patient's experience. So we sort of have a tiered system for your priority as a volunteer. And I want to state, first and foremost, no matter what anyone tells you, the number one priority for any volunteer at OHSU, including you, is to be working directly with patients and family members. We really want you interacting with them, simplifying complexity, getting to know them, providing a service that no other OHSU member can provide, which is really companionship and helpfulness. So please know that that is always going to be your main priority. Let's say you walk on a unit or you walk in for your volunteer shift, and there's maybe you have, part of your duties are to deliver flowers, and there's 15 bouquets of flowers that need to be delivered. But there's a family member that's saying, I really need to get to the ICU and I don't know how to get there and I'm completely overwhelmed. I want you to ignore those 15 bouquets of flowers and take that family member straight to where they need to go. Walk them all the way there, get them settled, and then you can get back to your other tasks later. But just know that your first priority is always going to be working with patients and family members, even if that means things don't get done. They are more important than tasks getting done. The second priority for you would be assisting OHSU staff. So that would be doing something like delivering flowers or going to get a wheelchair for somebody that's about to discharge, things like that. And then the third priority, the least important for you as a volunteer, but that you still will do, would be assisting with the unit and department needs. So that would be stuff like sanitizing wheelchairs, making welcome packets, restocking gloves and sanitizer. Those are really tertiary tasks that you will do if there are not more important tasks available to you. So please know that that is the way that we build out our programs. And when you're making decisions, it's the framework that you can use when you're trying to prioritize your time. Volunteers have always been important to OHSU, and they continue to be throughout the pandemic in 2020. We had, firstly, here at the hospital, we had programs that never ended. The organization decided that the volunteers provided such a valuable service to the patients that we were willing to pay for masks and other PPE, even when it was really expensive, because we knew how important the volunteers were. So guide services never shut down, hasn't shut down for probably 15, 20 years. The neonatal intensive care unit never shut down, and the emergency department's volunteer programs never shut down either. Volunteers also, we had a community of volunteers come together outside of our regular volunteers here at the hospital. We had a big group of volunteers that came to help run the vaccine clinics at the Oregon Convention Center and at the airports. So volunteers are incredibly valuable. They really help our community as a whole. And we really hope that you feel valued at OHSU. Summer program is an extension of this. We wouldn't normally provide a shorter volunteer experience, and it's because we're thinking about a lot of things. We're thinking about what's best for the patients. We're thinking about fiscal responsibility when we're onboarding a volunteer. But there's a lot of reasons why we normally ask for a 6-month, 26 shift commitment. But we make an exception for summer program. And we'll talk about this. It is still 26 shifts, but we do let you fold it in half and do 2 shifts a week. But the reason that we do this is because we saw a need for it. So we saw an influx of patients on campus, we saw an influx of appointments, and we needed volunteers to help the patients that are on campus and to help things just run smoothly as a hospital. So we saw a need at the hospital and we saw a community of people that wanted to help, and that is why summer program is here. So this is continuing on the role of a volunteer. It's just sort of a color-coded graph of your priorities. We already went over that, so you can certainly pause this video and read this on your own. But this is just going to be an example of what does it mean when I say patient and family needs? What does it mean when I say staff and unit needs? And then there's also some prohibited tasks. Let me get into detail on the prohibited tasks because I didn't talk about them. So I just want you to be aware that a role of a volunteer at OHSU is very much focused on patients and family needs. There are some things that you will not do as a volunteer. Not only are they prohibited, but the programs are not built for you to assist in these tasks. So you will not be assisting with any medical procedures. You will not touch or retrieve medication. You'll not perform duties in place of a staff member, and you won't take patients out for a smoke break either. There are more prohibited tasks that you'll learn about as we get further in, but we just want to go over the most important ones, mostly so that you don't come in thinking that this is an opportunity for shadowing or for learning how to do medical procedures when it very much is not. There is no shadowing opportunities for volunteers. There are no opportunities to help with medical procedures either. So if you're looking for that kind of experience, this is not the program for you. All right, so when we look at all of our volunteer programs, sorry. These are all of our volunteer programs as a whole. You can see there are a lot of them. That's why we have 3 program managers to help manage them. And summer program operates sort of within these programs. So it's a specialized program that I run where we are going to place volunteers alongside our regular volunteers at that truncated sort of folded in half commitment level. So this year we have some opportunities for summer program that we haven't had in years past, and I'm going to talk about those. There are age restrictions on this, and I'll go over those in a moment. But you can see here on our chart, all of the little honeycomb shapes are programs that we run. And the gray ones are programs that are not open to summer program participants. And I've turned the one that the ones that are available for our summer program participants, that light blue, and then the dark blue is just representing summer program as its own unique opportunity. So we're going to get into detail on all of these, but this is just a visual representation of the programs we've specifically selected to be a part of the summer program this year. So for our volunteers that are aged 14 to 17, there are two options for programming for you. First one is going to be the guide program, and this is such an important program. It is very close to my heart. Our guide volunteers stand in the lobbies around OHSU, and they just look to help people. If you're thinking about patient engagement, this is the program for you. You will be exclusively interacting with patients and family members and helping them get to where they need to go, and simplifying the very complex system of buildings that is OHSU Markham Hill. So here you have a quote from one of our guide volunteers that was in summer program 2 or 3 years ago at this point. Lily writes, I was delivering a happy birthday balloon and a flower bouquet to a patient when I ran into the family outside of their room. The family offered to take the arrangement in for me, but then one of the family members turned to me and told me that they wanted to see the patient's face when they saw the arrangement. We all went into the room and I delivered the balloon and happy birthdays. I delivered the balloon and flowers as we all sang happy birthday, and it was very moving. I love the story. Guide volunteers are in the lobby helping with wayfinding, but they also deliver bouquets of flowers and balloons to units. So even when you think something is like, oh, I'm just delivering flowers, or I'm just standing in the lobby, those moments are opportunities to have a big impact and to have a meaningful experience and to provide a meaningful moment for patients and family members. That's why I really love this story. It seems so simple, but then it turned into something that patient is probably going to remember for the rest of their life, and that the volunteer is also going to remember for the rest of their life. A very special moment. And that is just one example of the way that our guide volunteers really provide an extra level of comfort and assistance to the patients and family members on campus. So if you're age 14 or 15 or anything over 15, you are qualified to be a guide program volunteer. And we have more positions than ever this year because we opened a new building. I should say we're opening a new building in a couple of weeks. So we have some new positions in our new building that's called Vista Pavilion. It's got a really big lobby, and there's another area where it's kind of like a big junction with a lot of pathways intersecting. So we're definitely going to want a summer program guide volunteer there to help patients as they're getting used to this new building and this new pathway. Also for our younger volunteers, if you can do healing through music, you qualify for this. That being said, it is not exclusive to young volunteers. Anybody over the age of 14 can do healing through music. This program has volunteers provide light background music and general spaces in the hospital, like lobbies and other pathways. This is a really big need this year. So if you can play an instrument this year, I want you to know that I have basically unlimited positions for people who can play instruments. If you have to be able to play light background music that would be appropriate for a hospital setting with the general public, you have to be able to play for at least 30 minutes. You have to have 30 minutes of material, but you need to be able to play for, I think it's 2 hours in total. So if you have 30 minutes and you repeat it 4 times, that will be the 2 hours. And you have to be able to play an instrument that is sort of appropriate for the hospital setting. Some instruments are just not exactly the best set up for people to relax, but there definitely are instruments that can do that. So if you, at any age, but especially for our 14-year-olds, if you can be a part of healing through music, you basically can get in this program. And you'll see later that I have very limited positions, but something that I have unlimited positions for is healing through music. So if you can play music, you will end up in that program and there will be a spot for you. And that's just because we have a big need for it as we open more lobbies and as we kind of just want to use volunteers to lift the general mood around the hospital. So we want to hear music. So if you can play Year in, congratulations. That being said, there is an audition process. So you will send you through the audition process. And if you kind of have the skills to do it, then you will be able to be a part of this program. So that's really exciting for any of our musicians here in the group. For if you're a little bit older, starting at age 16, you get one more opportunity to be a volunteer, and that is going to be art carts. The art cart volunteers do crafts with patients in the waiting room at Dornbecker Children's Hospital. It's like a clinic. It's a waiting room for a bunch of clinics, so it's like a giant waiting room. Oftentimes, when patients are waiting to go into these clinics, they are anxious because they're waiting to go see the doctor and they don't know what that's going to, is it going to be a shot? Is it going to be uncomfortable procedures? Maybe they've been there before and it wasn't fun last time. So the art cart volunteers are really there to help ease the patient's anxiety and provide a little bit of distraction before they go into their appointments. And it can really make a big difference in how the appointment goes overall. So you do have to be 16 years of age. I have just 3 positions open for art cart volunteers this year. And if you have experience with children with disabilities, that is going to move you up on the priority list because the waiting room clinics see a variety of patients and they're really specialized clinics. So you're going to see a variety of patients in age and also in their abilities, their physical abilities or their mental abilities. It's a very varied position. But if you have experience with children or experience with children with disabilities, this could be a really good program for you. But like I said, there is only 3 spots this year. And I forgot to go over for guides, there are 41, there's spots for 41 volunteers in the guide program this year. 41 volunteers, unlimited healing through music, 3 spots for art carts. Okay. And then for our folks here that are over the age of 18, it's going to open a lot more opportunities for you. And that's just because there's a lot of, when it comes to like patient privacy, there's a lot of restrictions for those that are under 18 because you can't like sign your own contracts legally. So I just want you to know that it's not personal. It's very much a legal liability when we're thinking about our volunteers under the age of 18. But for our older folks, our college students, or our older high school students, we have a number of programs available to you. So we have, first one is 8 South Surgery Ambassador. You'll provide support for the unit, the pediatric surgery units. You could be working with patients or family members in the lobby in the waiting room. And you could also be doing a lot of tasks for the unit. It's a really fast-moving unit, very experienced nursing staff, very well run, has really good patient satisfaction scores. So you kind of get the opportunity to work on a fast-paced unit and kind of see what it's like to be in surgery, to be in pediatrics as well. For this position, we have 3 available spots. Drink water. Okay. It's a great program. Another program that we have is pediatric sedation. Minimum age 18, as I said. And this is, you're going to provide support for the pediatric sedation unit. It's going to be very similar to pediatric surgery and that it's a fast moving unit. They've got experienced staff. They are moving patients in and out really fast because of the needs. But an additional level of support that you provide is you actually help patients that are waiting on imaging. Excuse me, you help family members that are waiting for their children to get imaging or their loved ones to get imaging. They can be really anxious. So just having a volunteer that can provide an extra sense of calm. If you have any experience working with families as a whole or experience working with people that are anxious, could be a really good opportunity for you to stretch those muscles. It does require a certain level of emotional intelligence. And for this program this year, I have 1 position available. This is farmer's market. So this is a very unique position. You have to be 18 years of age. And something really cool about OHSU is that the nutrition department hosts a farmer's market to provide fresh food to patients and staff throughout the summer months. So it runs the first Tuesday in June through the last Tuesday in September. And in the past, we've asked that volunteers be available every single Tuesday. That we're not asking that this year, so I apologize. This slide is a little out of date, but you do need to be available on Tuesdays if you're interested in working with the farmers market. That's the one stipulation, and then the other stipulation is that your second shift would have to be healing through music because the farmers market only runs once a week. And this program requires that you do 2 shifts per week, but putting you on 1 shift per week on something like an inpatient unit or a guide wouldn't be that helpful for those programs because you're not going to be as experienced as a volunteer that's there twice a week. So we're pairing farmers market with healing through music. So if you can play music and you have an interest in nutrition, providing bringing fresh food to patients, or otherwise promoting local farmers and small businesses, this could be a really great opportunity for you. I have 3 positions available for farmers market healing through music combination volunteer. Other programs for 18 plus, I've got just a smattering of programs available for those over the age of 18. They will be offered based on experience and based on personality. I'll talk about that a little bit later, but your personality does kind of make a difference in which unit you might thrive on. So other opportunities I have, general medicine, inpatient unit. I have 2 volunteer positions open. I have 2 NICU positions. That's neonatal intensive care unit for anybody who would like to cuddle babies. For this position, you do need to have experience with babies. If you have experience with neonates, that is going to help a lot too. And also you have to have a certain level of maturity because you're going to be working with critically ill babies and their families. So it's going to require some emotional intelligence. I have a food resource pantry position, 1 position available, and that is going to be a volunteer that will help set up the food resource pantry for OHSU students. So if you're into nourishment and addressing food insecurity and public health, it's going to be a great opportunity for you. It's a really great resource for the OHSU students. Food insecurity is something that we don't talk a lot about in a society, but it is something that is definitely an issue on campus. Not only is food very expensive, but a lot of times family members don't have time to go out and get food when they have a loved one in the hospital. And then beyond just our patients and our families and their food insecurity, being a medical student, traditionally very expensive and not a lot of time to have a job. So Food Resource Pantry is helping to address that food insecurity gap, and it's really important for our future healthcare providers. We also have the diaper pantry available. So this is a program that provides diapers to families who need it. Once again, addressing a gap in resources for our patients. It's a really good opportunity if you want to support families, if you care about a lot about babies or postpartum patients or young families and you want to support them, this is going to be a really great opportunity to help provide resources. For diaper pantry, I also have 1 position. Then I have an opportunity for 1 volunteer at the Adventist Clinic in Southeast Portland. This is actually a radiology position. So it's a radiology volunteer at the orthopedic clinic at Adventist, but it is still OHSU. I have the opportunity for 1 volunteer who is interested in radiology or orthopedics and who wants to volunteer in Southeast Portland. So make yourself known if that is you. We have opportunity in the intensive care units. This is a triple opportunity. You will be bouncing between the neuro ICU, the medical ICU, and the, let me see, and I think it's cardiac ICU. So you'll have the opportunity to be exposed to 3 different ICUs. We have a position for one person to be behind the scenes in the inpatient unit, and then one person in the waiting room, which is a really good opportunity for anybody that wants to work with families directly. There's families in the waiting room and in that space that are just sort of landing from a crazy experience. They have a loved one in the intensive care unit, and they're dealing with everything that goes with that. So, sorry. So that is a really good opportunity for somebody that does have a lot of emotional intelligence, that wants to learn how to work with families, and that is cool under pressure. Also, somebody that has that can kind of curate a space. The actual waiting room space is kind of dreary, and we have the volunteers there to make it a warm, welcoming, relaxing environment for people that are going through something really stressful. So if you think that you have a really calming energy and can curate a warm space, then ICU waiting room volunteer position is going to be a good fit for you. I have 2 positions. I think I have one backstage and one in the waiting room. I have 2 positions for ICU available. Next, I have general emergency surgery. That's going to be an inpatient unit. Going to be kind of a basic inpatient unit where you're doing companionship rounds, you're talking to patients, you're helping family members, and you're also assisting with unit tasks. I have one position in emergency surgery, and then oncology is going to be similar to 10A and tasks. It's just going to be a different patient population, which is going to be adults, patients who have either had surgery and are getting cancer treatment or bone marrow transplant. I have 6 positions for those interested in an inpatient oncology position. So that is what we have for 18 plus programs, a smattering, a little bit of everything, hopefully something that your unique experience will qualify you for. When I list all these programs, you might be saying, oh, I'm interested in this, I'm interested in that, which is really great. And I want to hear about those opportunities. Or, sorry, I want to hear about what you're interested in to see if we can create those opportunities for you. And I also want you to know how I'm making the decision on who goes where. So this is called the quality matching process. Based on your interview, which is what you would do after this, and I'll talk about that in a moment. Based on your interview, I will be placing volunteers in positions based on OHSU's needs, unit needs, patient needs, and I'm going to weigh that against your interests, your experience, your personal goals, and your satisfaction. So I kind of try to find a balance. And I would say most of the time I am able to try to find a balance between something that interests you, something that you qualify for, and somewhere where I think you're really going to fit, where you're going to have a personality fit to the patients on the unit or the staff on the unit or both. And I will say that when you're looking at this scale, this visual of a scale, the heaviest thing on here, as you can imagine, is patient needs. I'm always going to prioritize a patient need. If I'm choosing between a volunteer who's very experienced in one area, but it's not necessarily something that they have that they've opted themselves into, but there's a really big need for their experience in that area, that's where I'm going to make the match. That is our quality matching process that is based on your interview. And I will talk about interviews in a moment. Summer 2026 cohort, we had 257 applicants today, excuse me, so far. This chart is actually out of date. This is from last year, so I didn't update the ages yet, but I'm going to guess based on, this is my 5th year running the program, this is probably pretty accurate in terms of the sections of the pie graph. It usually is going to be about 1/3 of applicants are 18 plus and 2/3 are under the age of 18. So that's how you can look at this chart. But 257 applicants, most I've ever had, which is crazy because I didn't think it could get higher than last year, which we had 199 applicants. But to be transparent with you all, what I want you to know is that I have a lot of applicants and I have limited positions. So to give you a visual, for 2/3 of the applicants that are under the age of 18, I have 44 positions available for minors. For those over the age of 18, I have 22 positions available. So you can see here, I've got 66 positions available for summer program this year out of almost 250 applicants. So how we're going to narrow this down is going to be based on your ability to follow up on the instructions in the email that you've received so far. So you opened an email and you followed this link to get to this presentation. Your ability to follow the instructions through that email is going to help us decide if you're going to move forward to an interview or not. So instead of welcoming all 257 applicants to an interview this year, we are going to be sending interview invitations to the people that we think are going to be the best fit for this program. So you will be getting an invitation to join an interview or a notification that we are not inviting you to an interview at this time. That is just what we'll have to do since unfortunately, even though we have a team of 10, we have other things going on. It's our busy season. We can't interview all 257 applicants. That being said, what you can do to set yourself up for success in getting that interview invitation is, I've got a slide for it, complete the tasks in the email. The email is asking you to upload a picture of yourself to Logistics, to add your summer start and end dates, and to complete the knowledge check. You need to complete all of those in order to be considered for an interview. So that's going to narrow down the applicants. So the people that walk this presentation through, decide they do want to be a part of the summer program, and then complete all of the tasks. Those are the folks that we're going to be deciding who's going to move forward in an interview from. And then the results of your knowledge quiz will also come into play on who gets an interview and who doesn't. And that's just knowing that you took the time to sit and understand this presentation. And because not only do I want you to obviously listen to what I'm saying, but I want you to understand the goals of the program. And I want you to have opted into knowing how the program is set up and how that's going to help you and how you are going to be the best volunteer that you can be within the program stipulations. And I know that you understand the program and you understand where you fit in the program if you've paid attention to this presentation. And the only way I know that is by doing a good quiz. So that is what we will be doing. Make sure you follow the instructions in their entirety and read everything all the way through and reach out if you have questions or if anything's not working the way you were expecting it to. So that is going to be actually where we get the list of people that will decide who to move forward with. The second thing, we're going to narrow down that list. We're going to have a list of volunteers who completed everything, and we're going to narrow that list down by looking at experience. So those that have experience with children, those that have customer service experience, or have volunteer experience working with the general public are probably going to be people that we will prioritize moving forward to an interview with. The last thing is going to be your availability. Because most of our units run Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., that is when we have the most positions available. And so we are going to prioritize people that can fill this position. So that's a pretty easy qualifier. And the last thing is going to be if you have a longer summer. And the reason for that, as you remember, is that my goal in every decision I make is based on enhancing the patient's experience. So if you're available to volunteer for longer, you will be better at your volunteer role and you're going to be able to help more patients more efficiently. So it just comes down to very practically who has a longer summer because you can stick around to help people for longer. So this is the criteria we're going to use to invite people to an interview. We will be probably inviting in between 100 and 120 people to interview with us this year. Once we do the interview, this is the criteria that we're going to use to select volunteers and place them, use the quality matching process to place them into a program. So your interview, if you can demonstrate that you remember the role of a volunteer and the mission of summer program, that's going to matter. being engaged in the interview and in the onboarding process as a whole is going to matter. And being yourself is going to matter. I want to know, I want to see your personality shine a little bit because sometimes there's positions where somebody more serious is going to be a better fit and somebody more bubbly is going to be a better fit somewhere else. So knowing yourself and your experience and your personality is going to help us with placement as well. And then lastly is going to be availability of positions. We have age restrictions that we just have to abide by, and then the best fit based on the interview. So I hope that kind of gives you all some idea of how we're selecting people for the program this year. It's an unfortunate reality of having so many applicants. I wish that I could have all 257 applicants join the program, but I just don't have that many positions yet. Every year I try to make more, and maybe in 5 years I'll have enough positions for 257 volunteers. I'll try. I'll make it a goal. That being said, I really appreciate you wanting to volunteer through this program, and I am really sorry that I can't have everyone. Um, so I hope I've made this selection criteria as fair and unbiased and based on enhancing the patient's experience as I can. Okay, let's talk about some practicalities about summer programs. So what does the service commitment look like? What am I expecting of you as a volunteer? So you're going to be required to be at your shift 2 days each week, 4 hours per shift, so a total of 8 hours a week. And that's going to go from your summer start date until your summer end date, as you've told me that it is. So what you've put in VicNet is what I'm going to be expecting you to volunteer for. So shifts are the same each week, so that's going to allow you to build your summer plans around your volunteering, build your work schedule around your volunteering, your other trips, and things like that, so that you can be consistent throughout the summer. And the commitment is for 26 shifts after all of your trainings. So if you're a guide, you're going to go to 2 in-person trainings, and then that third shift is when your solo shift starts, your 26 shift commitment begins. And then what I want you to understand is that what we're asking of our summer program volunteers is that you complete 26 shifts and volunteer from your start date to your end date, whichever is longer. So if you just love volunteering and you pick up a bunch of extra shifts and you're done 2 weeks early, we are still going to ask that you volunteer until your summer end date. And that's because that's what we planned for. When we chose you for the position, as you said, I'm willing to commit this amount of time to you, and we're saying we'd love to have you for that amount of time. So it's kind of a communication and an agreement. So be thinking about that when you update your summer start and end dates in VicNet. Know that that's sort of like you're saying I'm available for this, and we're saying we'd love to have you for this amount of time. It's a communication tool, really. Okay. Oh, one thing I will note about this is that if you're volunteering for, say, 10 weeks and you're volunteering 2 times a week, that's enough for 20 shifts. And that's not 26 shifts, that's short. So you'll notice that. And what I want to say is that you are still committing to 26 shifts, even if your summer is shorter. So what that's going to mean is that you're going to have to pick up some sub shifts to make up for the time that your summer, if your summer is a little bit shorter, you're going to have to pick up extra shifts to hit that 26 shift commitment. If your summer is a little bit longer, then you won't have to do that. So you are going to have to take a little bit of initiative to meet that 26 shift commitment, depending on your summer and your schedule. But the good thing is that our scheduling system allows for that. You will have the opportunity to pick up shifts where other people are out. Say maybe you have a 12-week summer. And you picked up 2 extra shifts, you're on set to meet your 26 shift commitment. And then your family is saying, oh, we actually have a week-long vacation planned. We have a scheduling system that will allow you to remove yourself for those days that you will miss and to schedule yourself for sub shifts. So you'll be able to say, okay, I'm going to miss this week, but next week I'm going to pick up 4 shifts. And what's really great about that is you might be picking up the shifts of somebody else who had a doctor's appointment or they went on vacation, and then they can pick up your shifts. So it's kind of like um, the system allows for the flexibility and for you all to like help each other. So there's like there's a continual level of volunteer support for the units and for the patients, but while still allowing flexibility. So that's a really great that's a great feature of our system, and it's one that you're going to have to take advantage of as a volunteer, and you're going to have to take initiative when it comes to meeting your 26 shifts. Thinking about your summer, your dates that you're going to need off, and your extra time that you have to volunteer. So that is the information I wanted to give you. The other thing I want to note is that the start and end times for your shifts are non-negotiable. You are not working in a vacuum, you're working in a schedule with other volunteers. So if you're asked to volunteer from 12 to 4, there's a volunteer before you and there's a volunteer after you. And overlap doesn't always work for different units. So just know that your start times and your end times are based on unit need and the volunteer schedule as a whole, and they are non-negotiable. They're not something you can push back by an hour or move forward by an hour. One last thing, the hospital is open on holidays. We don't get to send the patients home for 4th of July, unfortunately. So just be aware that if you do have a shift on a holiday, you will be expected to show up, with the exception of our clinics. If you are in a clinical space like the Adventist Orthopedics Clinic or the Art Clinic, those are opportunities where we actually do get to send the patients home for the holiday, so you will not have to work on the holiday. But if you're a guide, if you're on inpatient units, those are still running like clockwork on holidays. So just be aware that that is still the expectation, that you will volunteer on those days or that you will take yourself off the shift and pick up a sub shift. Okay, that's what I have to say about that. Last thing, you have to be available for at least 10 weeks to be a part of the summer program. And the reason for that is it's just math. 10 times 2 is 20. You still, even if you have 10 weeks available, you still have to pick up 6 extra shifts to meet the commitment. So for those with summers that are 9 weeks, 8 weeks, 7 weeks, 4 weeks, that's not something we're going to be able to accommodate for this program. So you will not be able to volunteer with us. I say that, and then there is one caveat. There is one caveat if you have a shorter summer, where we will allow it, and that is going to be healing through music. Because like I said, we have a big need for that. We're working on really building up that program and having a lot of music and a lot of musical presence this summer on campus. So if you have a shorter summer, and you can play an instrument and you want to be a part of healing through music, that would be the only exception to the 10-week rule. Okay. So when you actually get into your position, things may come up. Unexpected vacations, unexpected illness, surgery, doctor's appointments. We can plan all we want and life will still happen. So in the event that you have tried, you've put every effort forward to meet the minimum requirement for summer program, and that's just not going to happen for whatever reason. I want to let you know that you won't be arrested or denied medical school at OHSU in the future or denied as a patient. There's going to be no really harmful consequences for not completing your service commitment, but there are benefits to actually finishing the commitment and putting forward the best effort that you can. So those benefits are going to be priority placement if you want to move to regular program. So if you're a guide volunteer, you completed your summer program commitment, and you say, I would love to volunteer on Sundays during the school year. I have time and I don't want to be done volunteering. You will get priority placement if you've finished your commitment. The weekend positions for those under the age of 18 on campus are very hot commodities. They're always full. And even when I have new volunteers, some of you may have applied for the regular program and been told you have to do summer program because I just don't have any weekend positions for those under the age of 18. Um, so if you complete summer program, you get priority for those positions. And it's probably the only way you will ever get into one of those weekend positions is by being a part of the summer program and completing it. You will also get priority placement for summer program 2027. So if you complete your commitment and you do a really great job, and you want to come back for next year, you will get priority placement over the schedule, and we'll consider the placement in terms of your actual volunteer program based on your previous summer's experience. You will also be eligible for an OVB recommendation, whether that is a letter of recommendation formally or a recommendation for like an internship in the future. You will qualify for those if you complete the program. You do not qualify if you don't complete the program. Okay, let's talk a little bit about absences. Like I said, life is going to happen no matter what. There is a process for absences. So what you don't have, what we do not want to happen is you're sick and you just don't show up. That would be unacceptable. If you are sick or something comes up, you need to follow the absence process. So that's going to look like removing yourself from the schedule and emailing OVV to let us know. Then lastly, you're going to pick up a sub shift. If you have a planned absence for more than 2 weeks of summer, for example, if you will be going on vacation for 3 weeks, that's actually going to disqualify you from the program because you're just not going to be able to meet the minimum commitment. I would say the only exception is if you have like a 20-week summer or something, and then you take a 3-week vacation, the number of weeks is still going to equal enough that you can meet the commitment. But if you have a 10-week summer and then you take a 3-week vacation, that's really a 7-week summer, and it's just going to be impossible for you to meet the minimum commitment. I'm not going to put you in a position that doesn't set you up for success. Last thing to know about absences is that if you do no call, no show, if you wake up sick and you forget to call in because you're really out of it, or if your car breaks down and you don't have cell phone service and you have no way of contacting us and letting us know that you won't be there, we have a little bit of flexibility in that you get 2 of those. The first one, I'm going to be like, oh no, what happened? Are you okay? Is there anything I can do to help? And the second time is automatic removal from your shift because then it just shows a pattern that we will not encourage. And then the other thing is if you do no call, no show, nobody can sign up for your shift. So like, for example, I'm waiting for Sally to show up and do her guide shift. And I'm hoping that she's there because I actually have a patient that needs a guide and I'm waiting for Sally to show up, but Sally doesn't show up. That's really not going to work for our program. That doesn't work for our patients. That doesn't work for our unit. So we have a very strict no call, no show policy, and our system will actually just automatically. Okay, talk about boundaries. So just some general boundary rules that we want to go over for all of our volunteers, but in addition to some of our program volunteers. We want to remind you that relationships begin and end at the door. You are kind of coming into this space as a professional. You will abide by HIPAA regulations, and that means that relationships sort of stop and end with your volunteer position. So you can't exchange contact information, no giving or receiving of elaborate gifts, which would be anything valued at $20 or more. Donating money to a specific patient or family member is also prohibited. When it comes to inappropriate interactions or questions, just be thinking about that professional setting. I know it was kind of a hard line to walk because you're going into this space trying to provide comfort and support for somebody, but we do still need to kind of hold the professional boundary. So no hugging with children or any other sort of patients or family members. And then always respecting that the inpatient room is the patient's space. Like it's their only space that they get to have that is their own, even though it is part of the hospital. So just following where Medicaid, knocking before you come in, and helping them tidy and really respecting that this is their own space that they get within the hospital setting. When it comes to social media posts, just remember that your views are your own. They are unique to you and they do not represent OHSU as a whole. So be sure to make sure that the posts that you make are adhering to OHSU policies if you're going to mention OHSU in it, and that it always follows HIPAA regulations as well. You'll learn about HIPAA during your online trainings. And then most importantly, on the side, patient safety and volunteer safety are always top priority. So, especially for our younger volunteers, I know it's easy to kind of come into this space where you are younger and you're feeling less experienced, and you may be feeling that you have to listen to everything that everybody tells you because they're an OHSU staff member. But I really want to encourage you to follow your intuition. If a patient or a staff member is asking you to do something that you are uncomfortable with, I really want you to be able to say, I am uncomfortable with that. I don't want to do that right now. I'd like to discuss it with my volunteer supervisor first. These are going to be things that fall outside of the bounds of your volunteer position description. Or even if they do fall in within the bounds, you don't feel comfortable doing it for whatever reason. So an example of something that would fall outside of the bounds. If somebody asked you to go with them into a parking garage and help them find their car, and they were really insistent, they wanted you to come and they wanted you to really just follow them and search for their car, but that was making you feel uncomfortable and you just didn't feel like that was a good idea, that's actually absolutely okay to say, I'm not really comfortable with that. I'm not going to do that. I will show you where the parking lot is, but I'm not going to go walk with you. You can assert your autonomy in that situation and really follow your intuition. Another situation might be if a staff member is asking you to give a patient a wheelchair ride, but you're not confident in your ability to do that. Maybe you don't have enough training. Maybe you're not strong enough to push the patient to the places where they need to go, to bring them over ramps, to get the wheelchair over the elevator steps. Please make sure that you are saying, I'm not comfortable providing this wheelchair ride. I think we're going to need an OHSU staff member to help with that. The moral of the story is I want you to follow your intuition. If something doesn't feel right, or if you feel unprepared, know that your safety and patient safety is the highest priority, and we can deal with any of the issues that come up with that. Of course, if you do need to decline a request from somebody, we're going to do that professionally and with kindness and respect, but do feel like you have the autonomy to say no when something feels uncomfortable. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. Behavioral expectations. So what I expect of you as a volunteer, I want you to stay engaged while you're volunteering. I expect you to be there for that 4 hours. Be present physically and mentally. So that means no distractions, no phones, no headphones, no books, no homework, no computers, no tablets. I want you to really be engaged as a volunteer and to be available. And the reason for that is that I personally have a qualm when I walk into the art carts and there's kids all around and I see a volunteer that's looking at their phone. Oh my gosh. I mean, imagine you're coming into this space with your child, or if you are a child and you see, oh my gosh, there's arts, there's arts and crafts going on, there's crayons, and then you look over and you see a volunteer that is just looking at their phone. That's a really bad experience for you because you're thinking, am I allowed to be a part of this? Am I allowed to ask that person a question? I shouldn't even go to the table. They're busy. And that's really not acceptable for a volunteer. So I have a very high expectation that you stay engaged when you're volunteering in any position, whether that is art card or guide or inpatient unit. I want you to be present. I want you to be available. I don't want patients to look at you and say, oh, they're too busy to help me, or oh, I don't want to bug them, or oh, they're really just not available, another person that's not available to help me. Because there's a lot of people walking around OHSU with a badge with their head down, trying to get to where they're going. They're late for a meeting, they're in the middle of a job, they're helping somebody else. So to have somebody that is like has the open body language, that is looking around to make eye contact with people and is ready with a smile on their face to answer your question, that is the most valuable thing a volunteer can be. I'm really passionate about that. So I have an expectation that you'll stay engaged with volunteering, and I do have a 3-strike rule. The first time my staff, whether it's me or one of the OHSU members, catches you staying disengaged, whether that's a tablet, whether that's reading a book, we're going to give you a warning. The second time, I'm going to talk to you. You're going to get a call from me. And then the third time, I'll say, maybe this isn't a good fit for you. Let's go ahead and get another volunteer in your position. I have a 3-strike rule. So be aware. That is my expectation. And I'm pretty strict with it too. The other expectation is that you're going to treat everyone with professionalism and respect. This is a professional environment. Whether you're working with patients, family members, or other OHSU staff, we're always going to have that level of respect for everyone around us. Responding to emails in a timely manner is really important for the onboarding process. This is already a truncated program in terms of the amount of time that we're trying to get you into the hospital and into volunteering. And that means the onboarding process is going to move fast too, and expected to move forward even while your life continues on, while you have finals, while you have big sports competitions, while you are looking at the end of your excitement, or different things that are going on, scholarships, applying for college, like things are rolling on in your life, and I totally get that. And this is rolling on too. So you're going to have to learn how to balance the two. And part of that is responding to emails in a timely manner. And then just the basic expectations that I have. You might look at this and say, this is really obvious, but I want to state the obvious so that I know we're on the same page. And the thing is that it's not going to be obvious for everyone. So I'm just going to say it. Arrive on time for your shifts and stay for the entire length of your shift. Stay where you're assigned as a volunteer. Volunteers are trained unit specific, and there are age requirements and training requirements. So it is really important that you stay within your volunteer role, and you stay where you're assigned. So if you're an art cart volunteer and I expect you on, CDRC, and there's already another volunteer on specialty side, I'm going to be looking for you on CDRC. This mostly applies to guides too, because we have so many guides throughout campus. If we say, okay, you're going to be at Vista Pavilion, I'm going to expect you to be at Vista Pavilion unless you're actively helping a patient. So stay where you're assigned. And that also means, like, if you have become friends with another volunteer, maybe you're two guides and you become friends with another volunteer, I love that you're friends and I want you to hang out outside of volunteering. But while you're volunteering, you need to perform your roles separately. Just because when you pair up, one, patients feel like they have to interrupt you to like ask a question. It looks like you're having a conversation, you're having a great time. I don't want to bug them. That is not the role of a volunteer at OHSU. So it kind of shuts you down in terms of helping patients. And then also it's just like half the coverage for two people. If you're separate, then there's two people available to help patients in two different locations. But if you're glommed together doing things, then you're only covering half of what you should be. So make friends, have friends, but know that when you're volunteering, I expect you all to operate independently. And then ask for help when needed. Always ask for help. Don't just feel like, oh, I don't know what to do, so I'm going to avoid it, or I'm going to do the wrong thing, or I'm going to guess. We're here to help you. We don't have a problem answering questions, so please ask if you need help. Okay, volunteer readiness. This is just to give you an overview of the dress code for volunteering, just so you can kind of have it in the back of your mind. Kind of get this information again when you actually get closer to volunteering, but I just want you to be aware of the expectations. So your long hair is going to be tied up. Your cell phone is going to be out of sight and on silent. You will get an OHSU ID badge. It is also a key card with access that is for you specifically, not for anybody that finds your card or borrows your card. So you need to keep your card on your person. You need to know where it is at all times. And if it gets lost, you need to report it as lost so that the access can be shut off. And it does incur a $25 fee to replace. You will be wearing closed-toed shoes with no heels, rubber soled. This is a fragrance-free environment, so any strong perfumes or detergents you are going to not want to use on your volunteer uniform. You will get a blue polo with the OHSU emblem embroidered on it as part of volunteering. You will launder it between uses so that it is always clean and fresh when you step into your volunteer shift. Hats, hoodies, sunglasses, headphones, and earbuds will be removed once you enter the hospital. The only exception would be for religious or medical reasons. You don't have to ask for an exception to that. It's built into the OHSU dress code that you can do that. It is helpful if you let me know. So go ahead and let me know if you are wearing sunglasses for medical reasons or if you're wearing a skirt for like a religious reason. That just helps me know that you know the expectation and that you have an exception to it instead of me being like, oh, can you take off your sunglasses? And then you're like, oh, well, there's a reason I'm not doing that. And I want to ask you to do something you're uncomfortable with. So if you can let me know, that's helpful. You also technically don't have to, and we'll just deal with that as it comes up. You're going to wear long pants that are clean, free of holes, tears, and cover all the way down to your ankles. That's going to be like a khaki, a business pant, a dress pant. It needs to be smooth and texture, moisture wicking. What's not going to work is denim, capris, cargo pants, leggings, jeggings, sweatpants, shorts. Those are not a part of the professional appearance policy. If you have questions about any of that, go ahead and let us know. Okay, so what's going to happen after this? We got through this very long hour presentation. So what now? So what's going to happen next is that by April 10th, we will send out our, oh, hold on, let me start this. By April 8th at 9 a.m., the expectation is that you've completed everything in the email that you got this link from. Your summer program next steps email, all of that stuff needs to be done by April 8th at 9 a.m. That is going to give us time to figure out who we're going to invite to an interview. And you will receive your invitation to an interview by April 10th. You will also receive a notification if we aren't inviting you to an interview. I just think it's really important to be transparent with the selection process, so I will be letting you know that. Step 2, you will be coming to an interview. And as for all of the dates, there is an attachment to your email that it gives you a calendar of dates. That's what I'm operating off of this year. So just know that everything I'm saying you have in like a PDF attachment on your email. You will come to an interview sometime in the next 2 weeks after the April 8th deadline. You will get instructions for how to sign up for that in your interview invitation email. So don't worry about that. But what you do need to know is that there is an interview. It is a group interview. It is virtual. Then you're going to get what's called an offer letter. The offer letter is going to tell you where we would like you to volunteer, the day and time that we're asking you to commit to for those 2 shifts. It's also going to have some paperwork and very specific instructions for how to accept your offer. You will get everything you need in the email, so don't stress too much about what that looks like. But after your interview, we will narrow down who will be actually getting a position in this program, and we will send you an offer letter. For our folks that are moving forward with the program, you will then get a background check. You will then be required to get a medical clearance screening, which will require an in-person appointment at OHSU campus at our occupational health clinic. So please be aware that you will need to schedule that. You'll have to carve out a little bit of time in your day to take care of that, and it is not something you can do virtually. Then you'll have to do 17 mandatory online training modules. They're called Compass trainings. That will take 6 to 8 hours. So just be aware that that is also something you're going to have to work into your busy schedule. Lastly, after you've completed all those tasks, you will attend an in-person tour. led by one of the OVV team members. And you'll learn kind of general understanding of campus and all the important things that you'll need to know about. Then you're going to attend your trainings for your specific unit, and then you're going to start on your first solo shift. You need to complete all of your onboarding tasks by your start date, the start date that you told me you would be available for, that is currently in VicNet. You need to complete your onboarding before that date or by that date. Before is better. Before is better, but definitely by that date. Because even once you complete all of your onboarding tasks, you still might have to do some trainings. You still might have to come do a tour. So you need to finish it by that date so that we can get you started on your 26 shift commitment as soon as possible. Okay, occupational health, that's the medical clearance. The medical clearance, I just want to let you know what that is. It's going to be a TB test. It's going to be proof of immunity to measles, mumps, rubella, chickenpox, and then it's also going to include optional flu shot or COVID shot. So here's what's going to happen next. After you finish this interview, you're going to complete the knowledge check. The link is in the email. You're going to complete all the other tasks on that email that you haven't yet done, and you're going to wait for follow-up. Follow-up will be sent by April 10th. And that's it. This would normally be where I would open it up to questions. So what I will say now is go ahead and email me your questions. Absolutely happy to get you the information that you need. Thank you for coming to this presentation, for sitting through me talking for an hour plus. But mostly, I want to say thank you for wanting to give back to the community and wanting to help people and choosing to do that through our volunteer program. I am sad that I don't get to meet you all this year. Usually, I would get to connect with people more through the live virtual orientation, information session, but it's just not possible this year with a number of applicants. That being said, I very much look forward to getting to know you during the interview and getting to see you on campus. It's always really inspiring to hear why people want to volunteer and what they're interested in. And I love trying to find that like unique fit for where you're going to fit within our volunteer program. So thank you for sitting through this. I look forward to meeting you in the interview and reach out if you have any questions.